Well, excellent stories all the way around. And you know what, Forsaken? Let's gen up a character, right? Well, we've been making characters this week, kind of slowly easing back into things after the holidays and me having the flu. Um, we can. We're generating a random character, but maybe we can dedicate the thought of this new character, this new horizon, an opportunity for you to look forward to. Maybe even inspire you if you're going to make a replacement character of some kind. But we'll keep you in mind when we make this character above. Oh yeah, I mean, when the dice are mean, you could have an easy encounter that suddenly swings poorly. Oh, so you're not playing until the summertime? All right, well, you have a little bit of time then. Well, Forsaken, let's see if we can get some creative juices flowing. Maybe we can inspire you with whatever character we're going to gen up here. Hey, Pneumonica, welcome. Good to see you again. All right, we're going to start with percentile to find out girl, boy, multi-classed in a reroll. 95. Well, we have a multi-class character, boys and girls. So let's reroll again. And a 14. So we have a female. Let's roll a d10 to find out the race. 8. A female half-orc. Now, half-orc doesn't really have a sub-race, but something that we do is I'll roll odds or evens, and that'll determine... Alright, so we rolled odds. Favors... so she's going to favor her human side. What can that mean? Culturally, maybe she identifies better with her human heritage. Genetically, she might look more human than orc. It's a storytelling tiebreaker. It's a fun note on the side. There's no mechanics to it, not even in the player's handbook. But it's something that, I don't know, if we're caught between, which two skills might she take? They both seem really good. Well, she favors her human side more, so maybe we lean in this direction. Well, I understand coffee. I mean, keeping it simple. When people are making their own individual characters, whether they're using just the PHB, their own personal concepts, IRL, or they're using other supplements or the things like that. Sky's the limit. So here we have our female half-orc. She favors her human half. Or who knows, maybe she's a quarter orc. If that's the case. We are going to align her with 9550. She is neutral evil. NE. Neutral evil. So she is selfish, right? Remember, evil doesn't mean you kick puppies and burn down orphanages every chance you get, even chaotic evil. It doesn't keep you from doing something good, like rescuing an orphan from the burning orphanage, or donating to charity, or wanting to defeat another bad guy, quote unquote. You're doing it for your own reasons, though, right? You put yourself above others. Your goals are more important, or they tend to be more important. Fluffy Sheep says, yeah, you have to be greater than or equal to 50% elf to be a half-elf. There's not a hard rule for how much orc you need to be a half-orc. A drop will do. A pinch, a flavorful smidgen. You're smidgen orc. Or smidge, if you will. Alright, what level are we going to generate our character? We rolled a 94. Ooh, a level 19 character. Ooh, we're making some beefy characters in this exercise this week. I wouldn't put it past the chaotic evil character to rescue an orphan. That's one of the best ways that they could advance their agenda. Presumably. Or you rescue the orphan, but, you know, you take the silverware that was inside too. You pocket that, who's going to care? Who's going to miss it? People would rather get the orphan. You get the silverware that was in the dining room. Everyone wins. Yeah, Forsaken. Yeah. All right. We are, unless we roll fighter and you get more. Let's look at ability score improvements and take a look-see at how many of our ASIs, of our 5 that we would normally get, will be replaced by feats. We rolled a 72, all stat bumps. Oh, I like that. Yeah, more of a manipulator. You set plans in motion, or you start reactions with you don't know the end, but it causes someone or something to get out of your way for a while at least. All right, her background is one of 13. Let's roll a 13-sided die and find out. 8. She is a noble or a knight. And we'll figure out which one. You know, we'll develop her personality, and we'll determine which one of the two is going to better suit her. Which means that as her background feature, she's either going to get position of privilege or retainers. Okay, here we go. We have a multi-class character. I'm going to roll the D12 twice. The first number is going to be whatever her main class was. And then we'll take a look at her secondary. And we'll fiddle around with what would be the best split in order to exercise this. In fact, because we're level 19, we actually... we would not be getting all 5 of our ASIs with a multi-class character. So we might only be looking at 4. It'll be interesting, and we'll get to that in short order. Let's roll our 2 classes and find out what our combo is going to be. So she is going to split between 4, which is a druid, and 8, which is a ranger. Now, being a druid, we're going to go odds or evens to determine which is going to be her subclass. We rolled evens. That is Circle of the Moon. So she is going to be focusing on being a shape changer. And as for her ranger type, we're also going to go odds or evens to determine if she's a hunter or a beast master. We rolled evens again. So she is a beast master. Hey, diadems. You want her to be a gatherer. What do you mean by that, Rhodey? Well, she will get a favorite enemy or two. Um, so gathering trophies of some kind will be available. All right, so she is a Moon Druid and a Beastmaster Ranger. Can she be her own companion? She can turn into, hey Astreus, she can turn into a dire wolf and use her own actions and then command herself to give her more. No, you can't do that. Wouldn't that be interesting though? All right, being a half-orc. We start at 4 foot 10 inches. We're going to add 2d 10 inches to her height. 19. All right, then. So we are 4 feet 29 inches tall. We are going to take that same 19 and multiply it by 2d6 by 4. So that's going to be 76, and we're going to add that to 140 pounds, which is her base weight. Whoops. 6. There we go. Fluffy Sheep says Beastmaster plus Moon Druid plus Noble plus Evil. Seems like she got fed up with the politics of civilization and just wants to burn it down and go back to a primitive state. That, Fluffy Sheep, you could be predicting. There is a trait found in the Noble personality. It's in one of the blocks in the Noble background. That says, if you upset me, I will burn and salt your fields, and I will, destroy your house, like all this stuff. We'll see. She a tall, yes. She is a tall drink of shape-shifting. Now, let's find out how old she is. Roll percentile. We rolled 52, so she is an adult. So that's column 3. And for a half-orc, that's between 26 and 40. So that's going to be a 15-sided die. Let's generate that. All right, so she is going to be... 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Oops, 33. My bad. 33. A tall drink of cornstarch, says Fluffy Sheep. The last little bit of random number generation that we need, we actually don't even technically need this sheet for it. We're going to roll 2d8 for her personality traits, 7 and 1, and then we need an ideal, a bond, and a flaw. 1, 3, 1. And there we go. Now, class, open your player's handbooks to chapter 4, which starts on page 121. Although we're technically, we're going to go a little bit forward. Alphabetically here, Noble. Whoop. Noble is on 135. And let's find out who she is as a noble or as a knight. Lord Sky 901, hello to you. Welcome. Happy New Year to you, Lord Sky. Now, there is a lot of details here in the player's handbook. If you haven't read it, give it a read. It's a very good primer for the theme, what the book is trying to present to you about being a noble. But because we take an individual discussion with the character, I don't read over this, and instead we get to more the juicier bits of the results of the random number generation and the mechanics that we get, because we're going to customize it all for this character. All right, our skill proficiencies for being a noble will be in history and persuasion. Our tool proficiencies, we are going to be good at one type of a gaming set. So, I mean, chess, dragon chess, 3 dragon ante, dice, other card games, some sort of custom board game. Do you want to include Gwent in your campaign? Include Gwent. A gaming set, I don't know, arguably could be a sport as well. You know, are you good at soccer or football, if you want to call it as such? Are you good at tennis or something along those lines? You know, we think of gaming in terms of dice and cards and the like. But have you ever thought that your D&D character was good at a sport of something of some kind of a sport that exists in the campaign world? Hey, put it in there. Fishing? Or at least that's the first thing that I got from you, Fluffy. Lord Sky says Monopoly. And she's a noble. She's good at buying up property, huh? All right. She is going to have some equipment also for from her background. She's going to get a set of fine clothies, a signet ring, a scroll of pedigree, so she can show her ancestry as proof if people call her out. Mordecai needs to be proficient in tarot cards. Or Taroka cards. If you don't know what those are, it's something from Curse of Strahd. And a purse. Not simply a belt pouch, a purse containing 25 gapuz. There we go. Now remember, we'll narrow it down to whether she's a noble or a knight, and whether we're going to give her position of privilege or retainers after we explore her personality and talk a little bit about her life, depending on the prompts that we're going to be given. So I'm not too worried to delve into her feature just yet. Both can do some very interesting things, however. Yes, I'm sorry. So it's not just from Curse of Strahd. You are correct, Pneumonica. It is a time-honored pastime in Ravenloft, or specifically in and amongst the Vistani. Fluffy Sheep says, I once played poker with tarot cards. I got a flush and 4 people died. Oh, jeez. Aha, I muted it that time. All right, let's take a look at her characteristics. Let's bring our character some character. Personality trait number 7. My favor, once lost, is lost forever. And personality trait number 1. My eloquent flattery makes everyone I talk to feel like the most wonderful and important person in the world. So we were close to the one I was talking about, Fluffy, which is number 8. If you do me an injury, I will crush you, ruin your name, and salt your fields. Alright, so my favor once lost is lost forever, and my eloquent flattery makes everyone I talk to feel like the most wonderful and important person in Zawarudo. Her ideal is number 1. Respect. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. And let's find out what it means to her. Doesn't rhyme, but you know. Respect is due to me because of my position. But all people, regardless of station, deserve to be treated with dignity. Now, this is a good ideal. And we've talked about this before. How can you have a neutral evil character who has a good ideal? And that's easy. Each of these are aspects of her personality, right? The alignment is the general expression of who she is. Doesn't mean she still can't have good thoughts or expect good things. But the way she expresses herself is different. And in fact, sometimes if we have a disparity like this, it might create an interesting roleplay scenario. You know, we have someone... Lord Sky, thank you very much for that. Welcome. I'm glad you're a part of it. A part of our community. If you'd like to join our Discord, you can generate an invitation code if you type in !Discord. That way, if we're not broadcasting, you can hang out with us too. But think of it this way. So we have someone who has this mixed blood. You know, she maybe her noble family is human, and instead of half-orc, or at least that's what it's explained, someone in the family had a dalliance. We're either putting it properly, delicately, or we're not using as harsh a language with the genetic influence in the family. What if we can explain it instead of necessarily being half-orc? Maybe her family is a family of shifters, of you know, or a little bit of a wee little bit of lycanthropy runs in her family. And so instead of being an orc necessarily, she has the fangs and she has some pointed ears because of that, which is lending her towards this moon druid and Beastmaster Ranger affinity that we've generated. And so maybe by the light of day, you know, in her human form, she does try and carry herself as a noble. But you know what happens when the moon comes out? You know what happens at night? That's when she transforms. That's when that evil part of her, you know, that, because, I mean, are animals evil? We could list them as neutral or unaligned in some fashion. But many animals are more selfish. They're concerned with their survival, their needs. They mark their territory. They fight their rivals. They jockey for their dominance. And so I can propose to you all, so we'll use Half-Orc as the mechanical template, but what if she actually has a splash of animal blood in her? And so that's why she can express herself so viciously, but still hold good ideals, as she has this duality inside of her. I don't know, does that sound like an interesting idea? Could that make for a cool character? If you still want to say, no, I think the orc still works, we can stick with it, sure. This is our story. It's whatever we want it to be. Oh, I missed that one, shoot. Ernst Stavro Blowfield was an evil man, says Pneumatica. He was also a great cat lover and very kind to cats. Though I might argue this only proves how evil he was. Yeah, Lord Sky, we'll see you around. Thanks for joining us and being around with us. GM Vault says, I mark my territory too sometimes. Well, then you have that bestial influence in you, GM. That primordial streak. You know, we can get a Tim Allen man grunt. Ooh, Ha! GM. You. What's her bond? Number 3? Nothing is more important than the other members of my family. Ooh. Which does she consider her family to be? The people of, you know, maybe her more human, her human-dominated family? Or whatever's providing this outside influence? Or does she hold both in high regard, but she keeps them separate? And lastly, what is her flaw? Whoop, I scrolled too far. Too fast and too furious. Her flaw is number 1. I secretly believe that everyone is beneath me. So she does carry herself very highly. So much so that she does want to look down on others. Now, based just on this conversation, just on filling out her personality and the other aspects of her background, we have a character. I would like to think that, you know, for all of you listening, I mean, watching or listening, I mean, you could be doing dishes and listening to what we're doing in the background. That's perfectly fine. We have a character. Have you been able to imagine her as we've been exploring and discussing this? Do you already have something in your mind's eye that you're envisioning a character like this? See, GM Vault is shopping on eBay. Perfectly fine. What are you looking for? Something rare and cool, or... But, we don't have the details. Like, so what are her abilities as a ranger? Yeah, we don't have that. But we know broadly her background, right? Her point at which she can make decisions. We can project from here certain directions that she may decide to go in with life, or choices that she'd make in various circumstances. Oh, hey, that's a solid brand as well. You're gonna be basing some minis, or are you making a diorama, or I'm sorry, you said for terrain. It was on the second line all the way over. Yeah, I'm special. Anyway. Now we can consider as well, do we want to keep her as a noble, as a member of a highfalutin family, or do we want to make her a knight? Maybe someone, you know, it's still a noble title, but maybe someone who's brought in, or was a retainer family that is just sort of not mixed in through blood and marriage, but who is kept in confidence by the family as, you know, hereditary servants. Making your own static grass applicator so I can make tufts, flowers, and the like. That's... well, so by static grass, like a little static electricity ball that you dip the grass into, and then you put a thin layer of glue, and then you sort of like boop boop boop. You put the grass down so it'll be sticking up when it's drying to the glue, or are you meaning something else, GM Vault? Basically, got it. Pardon me. So, knighthood is among the lowest noble titles in societies, but it can be a path to higher status. If you wish to be a knight, choose the retainers feature. Now, I would argue you could still keep position of privilege. Some knights are just so well known that their presence can open doors. So at least on this channel with this DM, I don't mind if we have a knight with position of privilege. One of your commoner retainers is replaced by a noble who serves as your squire, aiding you in exchange for training. Your two remaining might include a groom to care for your horse and a servant who polishes your armor. As an emblem of chivalry and the ideals of courtly love, you might include among your equipment a banner or other token from a noble lord or lady whom you have given your heart in a chaste sort of devotion. The person could be your bond. Pardon. Or you could be a noble that has retainers instead of position of privilege. So you could be a noble, maybe you don't open doors yourself. You may not be a great noble, but instead you have servants that attend you. So considering who she is, I could see her as a knight. And so she cherishes the family that has brought her in and savagely protects them, is willing to kill for them. And so, she can come in and, so she does some dirty work, either directly for the family, or she presents herself as, I am the good girl by day. And she earns head pats and praise for her service and courageous battle. But at night, she turns into this hunting animal. And she gets other work done. She might arrest someone as a knight who is trying to, invade she caught them trying to break into the mansion or whatever palace or estate. And they're taken to the dungeon. And it just so happens that at night, wouldn't you know it, but someone came down with a case of having their throat torn out. I mean, heck, it gets damp and chilly in a dungeon, and sometimes you just cough so hard that your throat just falls open, and part of it goes missing. I know. Hey, GM Vault coming over the flu, it felt like that was happening sometimes. And heck, even earlier today, because I've been blowing my nose so much, I've been, I gotta be careful not to blow my nose so hard for the next couple days. And I think too, right? So we have this Beastmaster Ranger, and who is also a Moon Druid. I think going knight with retainers could be interesting. What if her retainers might also change into animals? What if her retainers are animals that she can call upon? Now, this would be a DM call. If you're going to pitch this concept to your DM and say, well, can I keep 3 beasts that are my retainers? So they're effectively non-combatants, or I can tap one at a time to be my combatant at my side. Your DM might say, you know what? I really love the fluff. I love the flavor. You've really thought about this. And, because you could switch animal companions anyway if one dies. So mechanically, as long as you're treating the others as non-combatants, that might be a cool concept. So she also has, her 3 retainers that follow her around. So she's the pack master, right? I'm the leader of my pack. I have 3 other people who follow me. Of course, in my service to the family, whom I adore and who loves me. But in certain situations, I can call upon my retainers to come with me to get a job done because they are also afflicted by lycanthropy. If we don't want to call her a druid necessarily, by practice, by belonging officially to a circle, being a card-carrying member of the Druid Club, we might be able to explain this as a type of lycanthropy that's afflicting her. And again, that's why she's a half-orc. Maybe she's not orcish at all. It's just that, you know, her midichlorians are enough to manifest some force powers. Oh, GM Vault, especially having the mustache. Sometimes when I'm out shoveling the sidewalk and stuff, I'll come back in and like, yeah, that what you said over there, that happens. So do you like that idea, or did you have a concept where you really like thinking that she is a noble with a position of privilege, and so she's playing kind of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of a thing? You know, pretty princess by day, wears the floofy skirts and the floofy shoulder dresses, but when no one's looking, she's all about strapping in that leather armor and tearing throats out. Maybe you like that idea as well. Maybe she was a noble but was exiled by her family after she got bit. Oh, gotcha. Or sort of like you know, culturally, maybe not even that far in our history, in the U.S. or other, you know, Western countries. You know, if you're a girl and you ended up getting pregnant in high school, you were sent to an all girls school to kind of remove you from the populace, possibly to not affect other girls by, you know, your your societal poor decisions from the concepts of the time. I mean, not that there's not a stigma today, but I don't think that there's a lot of you know, all girl finishing schools for pregnant teens anymore. So she's still a noble, but she was sent to finishing school. Well, so they could either be people who left with her, or they could have been other people she met there, right? Friends that she met along the way when she was sent to this other area. She was sent to a nice farm in upstate New York. And so actually, in a way, so we have our three retainers. Um, you know, it would recommend, you know, that one of them for sure is our squire. You know, who's going to be our understudy. And someone like a groom or something else. I mean, we could consider like a valet, which would also be like a messenger or something along those lines. And we could even, and so anyway, as we're coming up with these, we can make each of these as a possible animal companion that she asks to be in beast form, that she can then, you know, command around when they're in combat with with them. Don't become a werewolf, says Pneumonica, or we'll send you to the Wolf's Head Farm in Poughkeepsie. There's a lot of fun names, right? Schenectady, Poughkeepsie. Even Buffalo is fun to say. So something like a squire, a valet, maybe something like a scribe as another type of retainer. And we can give each of them, right, as a beastmaster, we can choose different types of mamminals, and we can reflect that in here. So Squire, maybe more of a battle style. You know, someone who's more of a follower. We could go with a wolf. We could go with, I mean, we'll look at the CR and such. Maybe our scribe, right? Someone who's a little bit more knowledgeable and communicative. Could be someone like a raven. Something along those lines. And our valet, you know, someone who travels. Someone who can carry messages. Could be like a horse or a dog. I think this would be a really cool idea. And then, of course, too, remember, she can turn into a lot of animals herself. Because of her lycanthropy, I think we're explaining through her moon druid primary class. Don't you love random number generation? I think we're developing an awesome concept for a character, and who knew we would have done this? Heck, I don't know if I sat down and forced myself to make a concept like this. I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, again, you know, throw 100 monkeys in a room with typewriters and you'll eventually get Shakespeare kind of a thing. But I mean, how long would it take? But when we just let this happen, let your creativity flow. We haven't even really made all that many exceptions to the standard rules. You know, there's a couple caveats to make sure you talk to your DM. But would it really be a big stretch or mechanically break things in a game? You know, as DMs yourselves, for all of you who've run games, is anything we've pitched so far, would that be beyond the pale? Like, you would say, absolutely no way, this character is forbidden at my table. I cannot abide by any of these ideas. Moon druids is lycanthropy? No, they have to be card... And you know what? That could be. Maybe all your druids in your world do have to be card-carrying members of, you know, the druid union or whatever. That's fine. But stepping to the side at times, looking at things in an alternative light, mechanically, there's nothing that's really changed. Cosmetically, thematically, we're making a very interesting character that may seem to bend rules, but is still mechanically viable within what the structure we're producing. Anyway, I'm going on a soapbox, and I think I'm preaching to the choir. I haven't exactly seen a lot of grumbles or like, this is dumb. Why am I even watching this channel? Table flip. Who's this guy? Who does he think he is? He's some sort of noob. He's never played a game of D&D in his life. What does he know? All right. Let's continue, shall we? We shall. All right, now that we have our background, let's take a look at races. And so remember, we are mechanically building her off of Half-Orc. Though she may not have orc blood in her, she just has a little bit of an awoo in her veins. Hey, Shlomo, great to see you. Shlomo, my friend, you missed a couple nights of some awesome box cracking. We were pulling some really cool minis. So, you would have had a good time. Not too many undead were opened up. Some were. That being said, I have some Monster Menagerie here that is just chock full of undead. I missed you when we were opening those boxes because I know how much you like it. All right, our strength score increases by 2, and our constitution increases by 1. We are a medium-sized creature, at least when we're not shapeshifted. Our base walking speed is 30 feet, giving us 15 climb, 15 swim, 0 fly. We do have 60 feet of dark vision. We have proficiency in the intimidation skill, as we are menacing. We get what's called relentless endurance. When you're reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you can drop to 1 hit point instead. It's a focus scarf. You can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest. And we have savage attacks. When you score a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, you can roll one of the weapon's damage dice one additional time and add it to the extra damage of the critical hit. And hey, this works while you're in animal form too. Because it's just talking about attacks. So it could be a natural attack. Shlomo is somewhat a box himself. How very metaphysical. Are we not all boxes? Truly, Shlomo? And languages. Now, you know, here, because we're half-orc, it would give us common and orc. Given our explanation of, you know, we're going mechanically half-orc, but thematically it's something else. I mean, we could keep it open. She could still learn orc. I don't see why she couldn't. But your DM in this instance might say, you know what? So you would know 2 languages anyway. And, you know, you're not unlike a human. You favor humans anyway. And humans get common in something else. I'm fine with that. If you're statistically using half-orc, and we know that the math is working for half-orc, that's fine. So take something else instead of orcish. Okay, cool. Oh, so Shlomo posted a selfie in Okay, so this is what we get for being a half-orc. Or in this case, like, half-animal or something. We're animorphs, everyone. Or in a sense, we've kind of made, well, by race and by class, we've made a shifter from Eberron. Daily, hello! Daily, we have accidentally, I mean, it's all random number generation, so it's always, we accidentally on purpose have been making an awesome character. I'm excited about this character. Not that I haven't been for the others, but this one is like, this is a good challenge to think about. It does go off the beaten path. Hello, Diadems. Diadems has returned. Okay, now let's take a look at our class. We are multi-classed, and our primary one we rolled is going to be Druid. Shlomo says, I always called my half-elf bard half-human or mostly human. Yeah, and that's another good take, too. You say, well, half-elf, well, why just a half-elf? You're half-human. How do you want to look at it? That's a good point, Shlomo. Let's see. If we go 12 levels of Druid, that would leave us 7 levels of Ranger. What do we get? Ranger by 7th level. We would, we would get we would end on a Ranger archetype feature. And then if we finished it off and went 12 Druid, 8 Ranger, we would at least be able to squeak in that last ability score improvement and get Landstride as well. So I think that might be a good split. So let's go 12 and 7 for our levels. Now, the spell slots are going to get a little wacky, and we're going to get into that when we multi-class. But because we're going Druid, we get Druid stuff. And let's load up our Druid stuff first. And then we'll talk about multi-classing after that. Diadems. Well, thank you very much for re-upping. I very much appreciate that. Shlomo says going half human, the most mystical race of all. They get +1 to all stats. Yeah, it's a weird mix how that works, right, Shlomo? Pneumonica says, when I work on a setting with half races, I often create half templates. You take 2 such templates, 1 for each parent race. Oh, and so you can more easily mix and match what you'd like? I like that thought, Pneumonica. All right, so focusing on Druid for right now. Druid, we are 12 D8 hit die for Druid, because we have 12 levels of it, and it's a D8 hit die class. We are going to get all of the proficiencies from Druid, and we'll explore what do you get for being a ranger? What proficiencies? We're going to cover that in just a little bit. We're just focusing on Druid right now. So we're going to get light, medium armor, and shields. Weapons. I'm going to put Druid weapons because it's a very unique list that is going to make the text really small. But just realize that there's a certain curated assortment of weapons that Druids will be proficient with. And tools in Herbalism Kit. Our saving throws are going to be Intelligence and Wisdom. We're going to get to choose 2 skills from Arcana, Animal Handling, Insight, Medicine, Nature, Perception, Religion, and Survival. Let's take a look at her background. My favor once lost is lost forever. My eloquent flattery makes everyone I talk to feel like the most wonderful and important person in the world. Respect is due to me because of my position, but all people, regardless of station, deserve to be treated with dignity. Nothing is more important than other members of my family, and I secretly believe that everyone is beneath me. So she is that pack leader. She does have, she does want to treat people fairly, if they're observing her station. And of course, she's making her own station perhaps higher than it is. We're saying that she's born as some kind of a lycanthrope, or she has some animal blood. So she's not half-orc. She has these animalistic tendencies to her. Something somewhere along the lines got infused, and we have this character. So let's see. Growing up, her noble upbringing gave her history and persuasion. Her animalistic lycanthropy through Half-Orc gave her intimidation. She is a knight. She protects this family, even if they exiled her or something along those lines. She's an animal herself and a beastmaster. Animal handling would probably be a natural extension. Yeah, obey me and I will protect you. Well, it's very selfish, Shlomo. Oh yeah, there is a tiefling subrace in the Sword Coast Adventures guide. There are also some options for tieflings, for Asmodeus style tieflings. So let's go animal handling and probably survival, given who she is and what she does. The life, if she's been in exile for a while, if she's had to survive as an animal, especially growing up in a sheltered, noble family. She's protecting her family by leaving and not giving them a bad reputation in the clan or village. She still watches out for them specifically in the clan or town in general from afar. I like that idea. In fact, we can even take that into consideration in our next part GM Vault when we're generating a city based on the characters that we've made so far. Shlomo is dabbing on Dragonborn here. I respect all D&D races besides Dragonborns. What don't you like about them, Shlomo? Let's see. We are going to get... if she's a knight, I guess we can go... we can go sword and board. Now, I will say this too. The metal restriction for druids is a suggestion. It's a strong suggestion, but unlike in other editions where specifically druids who wore metal lost their powers, this is set up as more of a taboo that the game world should consider. That being said, because we're describing her moon druid powers as more of a manifestation of lycanthropy or some sort of natural midichlorians, like she's an agent of the earth kind of a thing, we might be able to describe her as a knight with metal armor and a metal shield and a metal sword. I mean, not that scimitars aren't metal, but you get what I'm saying. So bear that in mind as well. Again, your DM might say, no, I want to stick with what the book traditionally is putting forward. And that, okay, make it work. You know, in whatever way is going to work best for your tabletop. In this case, I think we can say that she has a metal sword and shield. So in this case, so let's give her a shield, and let's give her a scimitar. We'll give her leather armor. Although by level 19, she's probably graduated out of leather armor. She's probably wearing a breastplate or half plate or something along those lines. Hashtag just saying. But for purposes of character creation, she gets leather armor. An explorer's pack and a druidic focus. And you know what? Her druidic focus, again, as a source of lycanthropy, this could be her signet ring, her pedigree scroll, or it could be a symbol of that heritage, of having that drop of animal blood in her family. It could even be just that, a little drop of blood sort of sealed in a glass vial that she wears around her neck. Be flavorful, be thematic. In fact, you know what we could do? Why don't we randomly generate a trinket that her family gave her, and that is her druidic focus? That could be fun. Shlomo says, I don't get from where Dragonborns came, really. I feel like it would be better to make them dragon-blooded / half-dragons, or just don't make them at all. Or GM Vault, yeah, just +5 leather armor. Coffee Cat says, I play in worlds where a lot of intermixing can happen, and I draw Dragonborn in a much more human-like way. That's true, you do. That is your aesthetic. GM Vault, I would love to add elflings to my world, half elf, half halfling. So gnomes, small, pointy ears, large, almond-shaped eyes, a fey ancestry. Yeah. Gnomes are taller than halflings. Gotcha, GM Vault. Gotcha. We are also going to know Druidic. Now, again, if we're saying that she's not a formal part of a Druid circle, you could say, well, I get a secret language for being a Druid. In this case, what if the language was Sylvan, right? If this earthly manifestation has occurred, or because we're going the route of the Circle of the Moon Druid that can turn into elementals, you might be able to argue that primordial would be the secret language you learn. Or if you do want to say, well, maybe there's some druids in the family and, you know, it's sort of like a secret family cult that's been raising her or influencing or casting spells on her. Maybe she does know druidic. But consider all of these options. You know, we're still mechanically slotted to get a secret language of some kind. So what would the secret language be? If she's not formally inducted as a card-carrying member of a druid union, then would we want to give her Sylvan? Or would we want to give her Primordial? GM Vault would give her Sanskrit. Which classes use totems? Well, rather specifically, there's a barbarian subclass that uses totems, but you could describe a holy symbol, a druidic focus. You could describe an arcane focus as a totem of some kind, Forsaken. So I guess it depends on not so much the verbiage, but maybe what's your intention, or what do you mean by totem? Just don't be a snake cult? Maybe the Yuan-Ti are somehow involved, or intertwined with that family. She could turn into a snake. You don't know. All right, spellcasting. We're going to get to that because spellcasting is going to be its own thing. Or our slots are going to be its own thing when it comes to multiclassing. All right, we can wild shape, everyone. How about that? Actually, we can put wild shape down here. We can do that twice a day. Huzzah. And there are a lot of considerations for wild shape. If you're playing a druid, you're like, oh, this is a pain in the butt. I have to read all these paragraphs. It's not that bad. They're simply creating some boundaries that is creating the sandbox in which you can play. All right, and, well, we're not going to be high enough level for a timeless body or for beast spells as a druid, but that's fine. So most of our abilities are going to come from our druid circle. So actually, we already have our druid class installed. I mean, I'm not going to write out spell casting and all that because it's intrinsic. If you want to, that's fine. But I'm not going to worry about putting down the class abilities because they're already a part of the sheet now. But we are going to get druid archetype goodies and ranger archetype goodies. A reflavored bard as a shaman sounds cool. I agree, Coffee Cat. Sing to the spirits, play the drum. Exactly, Shlomo. If you use actual paper, having beast-shaped cards or printouts is helpful for your usual wild shapes and spells. All right, Circle of the Moon. We are going to get Combat Wild Shape. That means that we can Wild Shape as a bonus action, and we can, as a bonus action, expend a spell slot to regain hit points. We are also going to know some circle forms. The rights of your circle grant you the ability to transform into more dangerous animal forms. Starting at 2nd level, you can use a Wild Shape to transform into a beast with a CR as high as 1. Starting at 6th level, so we're definitely going to be able to do this. We can go 3, you can transform into a beast with a challenge rating as high as your druid level, divided by 3, rounded down. So in this case, we can go up to a CR 4. Now, that means we'll never get to turn into an elemental, which has a CR 5. I mean, so could that make your primordial argument go out the window? Possibly. So we could stick with Sylvan if we want. We could still go with Druidic. We could go Draconic even. Who knows? I mean, if this is some like a Devil's Curse, we can give her Infernal. What's the source of magic? I don't know. It's your world. It's your character. Have fun with it. So we can go to a CR4 monster. We are also going to get Primal Strike. When you attacks in beast form, count as magical. At level 10. Oh shoot! I'm sorry. We do. I don't play druids that often. We do get elemental wild shape. If we expend both of our uses, we can turn into an elemental. I forgot about that. I guess I knew it. I just applied a different filter. Elemental wild shape. And unfortunately, well, we're not going to reach level 14, but we would get 1,000 forms. You know, so it's not going to give us alter self at will, but that's fine. So that's what our archetype is going to give us, and we'll calculate our slots. We'll calculate our druid slots in a little bit. We're almost to the point of crossing over into ranger here. Let's take a look. I think we're good here. On our spell sheet, we are going druid, ranger. Druid prepared spells equals. That is going to be our druid level plus our wisdom modifier because we cast off of wisdom. So it'll be 12 plus whatever our wisdom modifier is going to be. Spellcasting ability for both classes, by the way. I know I'm looking ahead to ranger, but they're both going to operate off of wisdom, which is convenient. We will have 2 different spellcasting attacks and saves. So it's going to be expressed as that. Or rather, it'd be, you know, DD and RR. And in this case, it'll be plus D / plus R. And we're keeping track of wild shapes over here. I'm not going to do our spells just yet because there is going to be some considerations for that coming up here. All right, let's go over to Chapter 6. Multiclassing. We have to meet certain prerequisites in both our original class and the class into which we want to expand. So for a druid, we need a wisdom of 13. For a ranger, we need a dexterity of 13 and a wisdom of 13. So when we go through and mark our and start putting in our abilities, we have to make sure we're meeting those prerequisites. Oh, you know what, Coffee Cat? You are correct. It is both wisdom. I even just said that. So in this instance, because it does share proficiency and wisdom. No, you're correct. Thank you for going through on that. All right, hit points and hit die. We actually, on this sheet, it's nice because it actually splits. If you want a multi-class here. Now I'm looking ahead. We're 7 levels of ranger, and they are a D10 hit die. So you would actually have 7 D10 hit die from that extra class. Proficiency bonus always floats with character level, just like Coffee Cat said. So we're going to have proficiency of, it's a +6 at level 19. That's based off our character level, not our classes. Now, proficiencies. Instead of getting all of the proficiencies listed in your multi-class expansion, you're going to get the proficiencies that it says you get above. In this case, well, we don't have to worry about the Druid because we got all of the Druid proficiencies. We're expanding into Ranger. For a Ranger, we get light armor, medium armor, and shields, so that's redundant with Druids. Simple and martial weapons, so now we can actually come back, and instead of just saying Druid weapons, we can go simple and martial. And one skill from the class's skill list. So let's go to Ranger real quick and choose one more skill. Animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. Well, eloquent, flattery. My favorite once lost is lost forever. Nothing's more important than the other members of my family. And I secretly believe that everyone is beneath me. She's a knight. She's standing up for her family, even if she is either self or this sort of exclusion has been imposed on her. If we're saying that she's sort of a natural manifestation, she's a lycanthrope. Knowledge nature might be what she takes, right? She's a product of nature and its fierce savagery. And she can survive in it, but she's also knowledgeable about it to be able to identify and handle the beasts and plants and everything that exist. Now, if you think differently, let me know. And we can switch where the dot is on the PDF. We're not out anything. We're not even out a drop of ink or a little smidge of graphite. Nature's a good one? Well, so if Coffee Cat says so, y'all better obey. Coffee Cat's a good boy. And of course, that's our hit points. That's where we got that. Our proficiencies, again, we eschew all of them to get just what is available through the section of multi-classing there. And we do not get the starting equipment. Of course, by this level, though, it is what it is. Now, go back to Chapter 6. We need to figure out our spell slots by being this odd hybrid. Rangers are a 1/3 caster. Druids are a full caster. So let's take a look at spell casting here. Your capacity for spell casting depends partly on your combined levels in all your spell casting classes and partly on your individual levels in all those classes. Once you have the spell casting feature from more than one class, use the rules below. If you multi-class but have the spell casting feature from only one class, follow the rules as described in that class. You determine what spells you know and can prepare from each class individually. So we will have a pool of spells that we can shift every day because those are our druid spells, but our ranger spells are going to be fixed as per ranger, right? So we can pineapple pen that aspect, but we need to calculate our slots. You determine your available spell slots by adding together all your levels of Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Wizard. Half your levels rounded down in Paladin and... Oh, I'm sorry. Ranger is a half caster. I was thinking of Eldritch Knight and... Arcane Trickster are 1/3 casters. Sorry about that. And then, so half your levels rounded down. So that is going to be 3 levels of Ranger, as we are level 7 in Ranger. Let's see. So that is going to give us 12. So we are, while we're a level 19 character, we would have spell slots as per 15 levels of spellcaster, according to this chart here. Right? So we get 12 from Druid, and we get 3 from Ranger. Now, being so low level in Ranger, though, isn't going to give us access to higher level Ranger spells. But we can cast the spells we know through the spell slots that are available, if that makes sense. Multiclassing might seem intimidating. We're talking about combining different things, or, so you'll have second level spells as a Druid, but you won't be able to cast, you can cast a second as a fifth if the spell allows for it, but you won't get fifth level spells. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. I know for a lot of you, you've multi-classed. You might already have been playing for a while. So, anyway, let's, at 15th level here, this is what we're looking at. We are going to have 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, and 1. There we go. We don't have to worry about Pact Magic or Channel Divinities. So, we're multi-classed, and we can come back now and add the features we receive from level 1 up through level 7. So, we are going to get, in our Ranger archetype, we are going to get natural, or I'm sorry, not our archetype, as per Ranger, Natural Explorer. You're familiar with one type of natural environment and are adept at traveling and surviving in such regions. So choose one type of favored terrain. And we'll get an additional one at 6th level because we have 7 levels of Ranger. So we're going to get to choose, or in this case, we're going to randomly roll a D8 twice to determine our 2 different terrains. Right? Let's keep it random. And in fact, this might even influence the city or the region that we're building. Roll 2d8. We rolled a 3 and a 6. So, Arctic, coast. So we have desert. Desert and mountain. Desert and mountain are our natural explorer specialties. Hey, Viking, welcome back. What a face. We are now going to get a fighting style. Well, let's roll a d4 and find out which fighting style she takes. We rolled a 3. 1, 2, 3, dueling. While you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons, but you can have a shield, you gain a +2 damage to, +2 bonus to damage rolls with that weapon. You can argue in your animal form that you can be dueling. If you turn into a bear and you're swiping with a bear paw, that you could get the dueling bonus damage in your animal form. You know, you're not holding another weapon. I mean, these are natural weapons. I don't know. Your DM might say, nah, you're all your claws count as weapons, and I'm going to deny it. Talk to your DM, because animal shape-shifting can be squishy, fungible in that regard. I would probably rule it that you could get the dueling in that instance. Kind of like Mongolian steppes for terrain. Yeah, and hey, all deserts don't have to be, Saharan blazing hot. Deserts can very much be cold deserts as well. We've already taken care of our spell casting. We'll get into our Ranger archetype here in a little bit. Let's continue to fill out our Ranger class goodies. We will get Primeval Awareness. We are also going to get an extra attack. And that does spill over, right? We're a druid, right? But we're still swinging our scimitar twice. We get 2 attacks. And we're not quite at level 8 to get Land's Stride yet. But that would be our capstone ability once we hit level 20. Starting at 8th level, moving through non-magical difficult terrain costs you no extra movement. You can also pass through non-magical plants without being slowed, etc. So, that'll be our fun. As a ranger, that's what we get. So now, we come over to our ranger archetypes. The book that you see here is prior to the errata that was put out that changes especially how Beastmaster Rangers operate. And I'm going to bring it up here so you all can get the differences here. So, they make that available for free. You can print it out, throw it in your PHB if you'd like. Those rules are reflected in the gift set that was recently put out in November. So if you have the rule books of the gift set, and I would imagine future printings of the player's handbook, the errata will be included automatically in there. Otherwise, I believe so, Coffee. I'll have to order some books and see if check the publishing date compared to what the verbiage is and get back to you. So, something especially to bring up here. All right, Ranger. So, Ranger's Companion does get some tweaks. Exceptional training, Bestial Fury. So especially for the Beastmasters, because a lot of people felt, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm not saying felt like people feel whatever they feel. But a lot of people felt that the Beastmaster Ranger was kind of wonky, or it didn't seem efficient or fun, or, you weren't keeping up with the Joneses as a Beastmaster Ranger. These tweaks are supposed to refine that for you and make it more playable or catch up or sort of smooth things out. So I will be putting the names of the abilities that we get as our 7 levels of Beastmaster Ranger. But just be aware, I could keep this up for all our broadcasts, but especially because we are focusing on Beastmaster Ranger, there is errata. And so make sure that you do download it and you consult it and see how it might affect what your Ranger does, or even beyond the Ranger. Okay, so our archetype is going to give us a Ranger's Companion. And you remember that was something that was adjusted in the errata, but we are going to get that as a feature. So placeholder as the feature. And at 7th level, which we're going to get Exceptional Training. Beginning at 7th level, on any of your turns when your Beast Companion doesn't attack, you can use a bonus action to command it. Well, I'm reading the specifics here. I shouldn't do that. You are going to get Exceptional Training. Insert Exceptional Training here. .pdf 2018. So, now we are multi-classed. We have taken into consideration the features that both classes have given us. We have our number of spell slots. And so, now we can go and we can drop in our standard array and then give ourselves ASIs based on what we unlock per class. We're going to get 3 of them through Druid, but we're only going to get 1 of them through Ranger, because we're not going to get our last one until we hit that 8th level of Ranger, because you get an ASI as a Ranger at 4 and 8. So we're not quite there yet. We're only going to get 4 until we hit 8, and we get that's a capstone thing that I guess we can get. Remember, we need a 13 in at least Wisdom and a 13 in at least Dexterity in order to multi-class successfully. And you have to have those stats before you are able to multi-class. So if you started out as just a Druid and you gave yourself a 10 Dexterity, you'd have to dump some of those points into Dexterity before you could take your first level of Ranger. 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. Wisdom's going to be important. I think Strength is going to be important as well. Let's see. Scimitar is a finesse weapon, but we can use, I mean, we have a full array of weapons we can wield, as we know simple and martial. I think going a strength druid would be the way forward, right? Especially because we're presenting her as a knight. You could use a finesse weapon with strength. There's nothing wrong with that. So what if we went 15, 14. We need a minimum 13 dex. Ooh, what if we put the 13 in con? We make her really healthy. Put the 12 in dex, 10 in charisma, 8 in intelligence. So again, she's not broadly intelligent, and I think that could reflect her upbringing as this, she's trained as a knight. She was taught very limited subjects. Though if you think that this should be different, then let me know. We can switch this up. If we do this, does that make sense? What if 14, 12... What if the charisma was higher, right? Because she does intimidate and persuade really well. Con would go to 10. I kind of like that. Okay, if you think differently, hey, throw it out there. I'm trying to go with what's her concept? What have we been developing? Looking at her background. Look at the things we've discussed. Who is she? She's a product of this nature. She's sort of a racial lycanthrope, is what we're explaining her druidic powers to be. If we do this, that's going to give her a 14 strength. Look, as Bob Ross says, you got to have a bravery test. Let's lock it in here. I'm open to other ideas too, but let's lock this in and play with the numbers. And now we get 4 ASIs. Well, we can let's bump up her wisdom and her con with 1. Let's bump up her strength with 2. Let's bump up her charisma and her strength with 3. GM, you wanna bring her int up with the 4th one? I'm not against that. Why would you want to put the last 2 points in int? She should be around 10 to reflect an education. I don't mind that. So we could go 4, and then when she hits her next level of Ranger, and she gets her ASI at level character level 20, we could bump up her strength a little bit more. Strength is going to be interesting, right? Because strength is overridden when she shapeshifts, but she's not always going to be shapeshifted. Okay, so there we go. I like it. It makes sense. It's thematic to the character. It tells her story. So strength is a +3, dex is 2, con is 1, int is 0, wisdom is 3, charisma is 2. With that, strength saving throw and athletics are 3. Dex is going to be 2 down the line for the saving throw and all that. Con is 1. Intelligence, well, Arcana, Investigation, and Religion are 0, but Nature and History are going to be 6. Wisdom is going to be a little bit different. That's a 9 saving throw, Animal Handling, and Survival, with a 3 Insight, Medicine, and Perception. By the way, that's going to give us a passive perception of 13, 10 plus our perception modifier for her natural awareness. A little different than her primeval awareness as a ranger. And for charisma, that is going to be 2 saving throw, 2 deception, and 2 performance, but a nice chonky 8 in intimidation and persuasion. Congratulations, we have a character and not just a standard array of numbers. If a name for her is springing to mind, throw it out there. Let's name this character. She's definitely not just a set of numbers anymore. All right, initiative is a dex check, so we're at a +2, as that's what our modifier is. Armor class. She's level 19. Is she still in basic leather armor? Probably not. Let's roll with it and say that she is. Leather armor starts at 11 plus your dex mod. So she'd have a 13 plus a shield would put her at 15. But change it as the character changes over time. Hit points. This is going to be one extra step for a multi-class character. She started as a druid. Druids are a D8 hit die class. You get full hit points at level 1 for your hit die. So she gets 8 hit points at level 1. Character level 1 of whatever class it is. She gets 11 more levels of druid, which is going to be half +1 of the hit die. So those are her druid class hit points. For her ranger, you do not get that. Yes, at one point she was a something X druid and then a 1 ranger. You only get the full hit points at your first level of the first class that you take. So for all 7 levels of ranger, she's getting half +1 hit points from that. So that's a D10 hit die class. Half of 10 is 5 plus 1 is 6. So it's going to be 7 plus 6. And then at the end, for all her levels as a character, all 19 levels, she gets bonus hit points equal to her Constitution modifier, which in this case is going to be 1. I agree, Coffee. You know, because you can wield, finesse weapons off of decks and get that damage. In this case, I mean, we're talking about a modifier of +1. Thematically, if she's been raised as a knight and she's been doing this combat training, it felt more proper to have this character have a higher strength and be able to take better advantage of that. Because remember, druids do get medium armor proficiency. So if you're playing this character, you start with leather. You might not stay in leather too long, as you eventually end up wearing hide armor, or you know, you wear a druidic equivalent of a higher tier of medium armor, which can cap you at that +2 in dex. So again, going for that knight aspect of her background, I thought it more appropriate to sort of cap out her dex, but give her a good swinging arm as she's sword and boarding as a knight, even though she's a druid. So here's our formula to calculate our hit points. So this the bonus HP is 19. Our druid HP is 55. And our ranger HP is 42. So put the classes together for 97. That's going to be 105 plus 19, so that's 114, 124 hit points. 124 hit points at level 19 is this multi-class character. Well, you have to remember, so she has 12 levels of Druid. The first level is 8 hit points. And so there's 11 other levels at, so there's 11 other at half plus 1, which is 5. So 11 times 55. Yeah, don't worry. It can be easy to make a mistake like that, especially if we're multi-classing and we're floating a lot of stuff, Coffee Cat. Don't worry about it. I've done that on stream. Heck, you had to correct me earlier because I was going to have a redundancy. I mean, I would have encountered it and gone, derp. But you saved me, so I appreciate it. The favor has been repaid, Coffee Cat. All right, Scimitar. We can attack off of dex if we want. Strength is higher. So if we're going to attack with a +9 with it. 3 strength modifier plus our proficiency. Scimitar damage is 1d6, and in this case we're attacking with strength, so it's a +3. Now, for our spells, both druids and rangers cast off of wisdom, so as Coffee Cat pointed out as a reminder to me, our spell attacks and our spell saves for both types of spells are going to be the same. Now, if this was a wizard instead, we'd have to split them, because then we're casting some spells off wisdom and some spells off int. But in this case, we can pineapple pen them together really well. We're attacking off of wisdom, so 3 plus 6 is a +9 for any of our spells. To calculate your difficulty class for enemies resisting the effects of your spells, add 8 to whatever the attack is. So the DC is 17 to resist the effects of our druid or ranger spells. Now for the spells themselves. Let's go back over to Druid. We have 12 levels of Druid, meaning, well, more particularly, we are going to know 4 cantrips. So, now, not that we get ranger cantrips, but if you want to make sure that you know the source of your powers, I'm putting D1, D2, D3, and D4 to make sure we're indicating these are druid cantrips. Because I don't know, if we took a feat that gave us something else, then, you know, list where you got those magical resources, because it could come in handy sometime. So we'll get to choose 4 cantrips for this character. Also for druids, you can prepare a number of spells of your druid level plus your wisdom modifier. So in this case, we can prepare 15 druid spells. Our number of ranger spells is going to be fixed. And now, and also if we were a circle of the land druid, we would get, I mean, it's kind of like oath spells or domain spells per paladins and clerics. So we'd have some fixed spells, but we don't have to worry about that as a shapeshifter. So amongst all the levels that we can cast, which was 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1. D1, D2, D3, and D4. We can fill any of the slots for which we can cast druid spells. Mind you, druids can only prepare up to a 6th level spell. Now we have a 7th and an 8th level slot, so we can upcast through them, but we don't get spells for them. Bear that in mind. So these are sort of like free power surges that we can put our ranger or our druid spells through. If you want to make a note here as a reminder as a player, hey, do so. This is our druid spell level cap. So as we're preparing 15 spells among 6 levels, you know how to arrange that. Going to ranger. You gonna come on camera? Come on. There we go. If we take a look at ranger, we are only a 7th level ranger. So our ranger spells are capped at level 2. This is our ranger spell level cap. And our rangers have fixed spells, right? Because at 2nd level, we know 2 spells. At 3rd, 3. At 4th, we still know 3. And then at 5th, we know 4 spells. And at 7th, we know 5. But none of those are greater than level 2. So if we come through here, we can type in, so this would be Ranger level 2. RLV 2. We get 2 spells. And then at 3rd level, we get that. And then at 5th level, we can, you could always, if you want to mem another 1st level spell, even though you can cast first, that's fine. But if we're sort of writing out what is the maximum allowed, Ranger level 5, and then we get Ranger level 7. It might make this redundant because our spell cap is intrinsically tied to the spells which we know. Whatever works for you as a player. Make notes, make sure you don't accidentally do something in the middle of combat where your DM's like, but I thought that was a 3rd level spell. You're like, well, yeah, but I can cast up to 8th level spells. No. Rangers can't even break 5th. But just bear in mind, you're only a 7th level ranger, so you're a level 19 character, but that doesn't mean that you can cast 5th level ranger spells. You don't have that ranger training. So whatever works for you, here's a way for us to track our spells and our caps and all that. And so congratulations. Beyond picking our spells, let's see, our attack was +9 and our save was 17. Aside from picking our spells, we have a character, my friends. A really cool character too. I like her. I don't know, maybe I'd play a character like this. I'll find a game to play in and I'll rock this character. I really like it. So, I mean, if you want to suggest cantrips and other things, which ranger spells she'd lock in as a ranger, that's perfectly fine. I think we should get up. Let's take a 10-minute break. Go get a snack and a drink. You know, if you have some pets, give them some love. And when we come back, let's make a city in a similar style to how we build characters. In fact, we can even take the characters into consideration if we're going to be making a setting in which they'll adventure. All right, so see you in about 10 minutes, everyone.